When I first set foot in New Zealand, it felt as though I had stepped into the imagination of the earth itself. Mountains rose like cathedral spires, rivers shimmered with glacial clarity, and forests breathed with ancient rhythm. Mist curled through valleys at dawn, and by midday the light broke so pure it seemed to wash the soul clean. The land wasn't quiet, it whispered. It hummed through wind-carved cliffs and silver ferns, through the hush of waterfalls, and the echo of the ocean on black sand shores. This is New Zealand, Aotearoa, the land of the long white cloud, a place where myth and geology dance together, where time feels slow and sacred, and where every horizon promises discovery. Welcome to Passports to the Past. We don't just visit countries, we try to understand them. Our goal is to give you history, culture, and practical wisdom, so that when you travel, you do it with awareness and confidence. This is travel that makes you smarter, safer, and more connected to the places you see. New Zealand sits alone in the South Pacific, 1,500 kilometers east of Australia. Two main islands, north and south, stretch like emeralds divided by the narrow Cook Strait. The country covers roughly 103,000 square miles, about the size of Colorado, yet fewer than 6 million people live here. Sheep still outnumber humans nearly 5 to 1. It's a constitutional monarchy with a parliamentary democracy. The British monarch remains the symbolic head of state, but New Zealand governs itself with calm independence. It ranks among the world's most transparent and least corrupt nations, politically stable, socially progressive, and remarkably safe. But the real power here isn't political. It's geological. The islands sit on the collision of the Pacific and Australian tectonic plates, so the ground is alive, smoking, trembling, breathing. Volcanoes rise near Auckland, geysers erupt in Rotorua, and snow-clad peaks cut across the South Island. Before there was a nation, there was migration. The first people to reach these distant shores were Polynesian navigators, the ancestors of today's Maori. Guided by stars, birds, and ocean currents, they arrived around the 13th century after voyages longer than most of us can imagine. They named the land Aotearoa and built a culture steeped in ancestry, nature, and story. Each mountain, river, and tree carried mana, spiritual presence, and every person belonged to a wakapapa, a lineage stretching back to gods and heroes. Maori society was organized into iwi, tribes, and hapu, sub-tribes, each led by chiefs, each bound by tapu, sacred law, and collective responsibility. Their stories, the legends of Maui fishing up the North Island, or the love of Hinamoa and Tutanakai, still shape the nation's imagination. Centuries later, in 1642, Dutch explorer Abel Tasman sighted the islands but never landed. His brief encounter ended in violence. It wasn't until 1769 that British Captain James Cook mapped the coast and opened the way for traders, missionaries, and eventually settlers. In 1840, representatives of the British Crown and over 500 Maori chiefs signed the Treaty of Waitangi, an agreement meant to protect Maori rights while granting Britain's sovereignty. But mistranslations and broken promises led to decades of conflict known as the New Zealand Wars. Despite hardship and loss, Maori identity endured. Today, the treaty stands at the moral heart of the country, debated, interpreted, and respected as a living document guiding reconciliation. Nature here seems exaggerated, as if creation itself experimented with drama. In the North Island, volcanic plateaus steam with life, Rotorua's sulfur pools, Taupo's massive caldera lake, and Tongariro's otherworldly peaks, sacred to Maori and instantly recognizable to movie fans. To the south, the land rises into the southern Alps, slicing the island like a spine of stone. Glaciers crawl toward rainforests where ferns the size of umbrellas shimmer in perpetual damp. Fjords carve the western coast, none more majestic than Milford Sound, where cliffs plunge from mist into black water, alive with dolphins and seals. Even the light here behaves differently, sharp, unfiltered, luminous. It's little wonder cinematographers call it the purest light on Earth. Daily life in New Zealand flows with this geography. Towns feel open and airy. Cities are tidy and human-scaled. Auckland stretches between two harbors. a city of sails where nearly every family owns a boat. Wellington, the capital, clings to steep hills wrapped around a glittering bay. Windy, creative and caffeinated. Christchurch on the South Island, rebuilt after devastating earthquakes, balances English gardens with modern architecture. Queenstown is pure adrenaline, bungee jumping, skiing and jet boating amid postcard perfection. For travelers, safety is exceptional, but nature demands respect. Weather shifts quickly. A sunny morning can become a whiteout by noon. In alpine regions, always check forecasts and tell someone your plans. Hiking, or tramping, as locals say, is a national pastime, but trails range from gentle coastal walks to multi-day treks through wilderness that can humble the unprepared. The water is pure enough to drink in many streams, yet the sun burns fierce. The ozone layer here is thinner, and even locals wear sunscreen religiously. Costs vary widely. On our affordability scale, New Zealand rates $5 out of 5. Budget travelers who camp or stay in hostels can manage on $120 a day. Mid-range comfort runs $200 to $300. Luxury lodges can soar well beyond that. Renting a campervan is a favorite compromise. Mobility and accommodation in one, with freedom to chase whichever horizon calls. Fuel and food can add up, but nearly all of New Zealand's wonders, beaches, trails, waterfalls, are free. Culturally, modern New Zealand is built on three intertwined strands: Maori heritage, European settlement, and a bold spirit of innovation. You see it in language. Maori words enrich daily speech. Kia ora, hello, wanao, family, and aroha, love, slip easily into conversation. You see it in governance, Maori representation in parliament, and the revival of the language in schools and media. And you feel it in attitude, egalitarian, practical, modest. Kiwis, as New Zealanders call themselves, are famously unpretentious. They greet strangers with warmth, but value humility. They'll fix anything with fencing wire and good humor. Community here often forms around the outdoors. Weekend barbecues, rugby matches, and long hikes with friends. Sport binds the nation. The All Blacks, New Zealand's rugby team, are cultural heroes. Their haka, the fierce Maori war dance, performed before each match as both challenge and tribute. It's not spectacle, it's identity. The arts thrive too. Literature, film, and music echo the landscape's grandeur. No modern story put New Zealand on the global stage more vividly than Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings and Hobbit trilogies. The films transformed the countryside into Middle-earth, and their success sparked a cinematic tourism boom. Visitors now trek to Hobbiton's green hills, wander the volcanic plains of Mordor, and sail through fjords that doubled as elven realms. Yet beyond fantasy, the industry left real infrastructure. Studios, special effects houses, and a generation of storytellers. Its poetic symmetry, a nation founded on ancient oral tradition, becoming a global center of modern myth-making. Maori art remains central. Intricate carvings, tattooing, tamoko, and weaving connect modern life to ancestral lineage. Museums such as Te Papa Tongarewa in Wellington blend cutting-edge technology with indigenous spirituality, reminding visitors that heritage here is not frozen behind glass. It's breathing. One of the most powerful impressions New Zealand leaves is environmental conscience. Nearly 80% of electricity comes from renewable sources: hydropower, geothermal, and wind. National parks protect 1/3 of the landmass. The government leads in biodiversity preservation, while citizens practice small-scale sustainability in daily life. Recycling bins line every street. Compost heaps flourish in suburban yards. Visitors are urged to follow the Tiaki Promise, a code of care for people and place. It asks travelers to respect culture, protect nature, and act as guardians, not consumers. Even meals mirror this ethos. Lamb raised on open pasture, seafood fresh from cold waters, fruits from sun-drenched valleys. Coffee culture is strong. Locals argue they perfected the flat white before Australians claimed it. Craft breweries and vineyards flourish. Regions like Marlborough produce world-class Sauvignon Blanc. Dining out is casual but creative. Expect farm-to-table freshness rather than formality. For digital nomads and long-term visitors, New Zealand is a paradox, inspiring yet expensive. Internet speeds are good, co-working spaces exist in major cities, and work holiday visas attract young professionals seeking adventure. Yet the isolation that makes the country special can feel limiting. Flights are long, imports costly, and distances vast. Still, many choose to stay for months, trading convenience for serenity. Retirees and expats often speak of a calmer rhythm of life, community trust, stunning scenery, and a healthcare system that actually functions. The hardest part, they say, is leaving. But what truly defines this place isn't scenery or safety. It's spirit. There's a humility woven through the people, a quiet pride without arrogance. Whether Maori or Pakeha, non-Maori New Zealanders, they share an awareness of living on borrowed ground, islands that could shake, flood, or erupt at any time, yet nurture them with abundance. This fragility breeds gratitude. You sense it in small acts, a farmer waving as you pass, a barista calling you mate, a stranger reminding you to wear sunscreen. As I traveled through both islands, from the glowworm caves of Waitomo to the alpine passes of Arthur's Pass, from the Bay of Islands, where the treaty was signed, to the southernmost town of Bluff, I felt a recurring theme: balance. Here, humans and nature still negotiate rather than compete. Technology coexists with wilderness. Old myths breathe inside new media. And progress bends to the land's will, not the other way around. I want to pause here for a personal reflection, because travel, at its best, changes how we see ourselves. In New Zealand, I felt that change more keenly than in many places. Perhaps it's the purity of the air, or the scale of the landscapes, that dwarf the ego. Perhaps it's the culture's quiet insistence on respect for ancestors, for strangers, for the earth. Whatever it is, it humbles you. You realize that adventure isn't about conquering mountains, but learning to move gently among them. And there's something else, a distinct beauty in the people themselves. New Zealand women and men share a vitality that mirrors their environment. Outdoorsy, genuine, often sun-kissed and smiling. It's not vanity, it's wellness. Equality runs deep here. Leadership, education, and creativity cross genders with ease. You meet artists, scientists, farmers, and filmmakers, all speaking with the same grounded sincerity. It's easy to fall in love, not just romantically, but philosophically, with a culture that measures wealth in quality of life and kindness of heart. As my journey drew to a close, I found myself standing at the edge of Lake Wakatipu near Queenstown. The water mirrored a sky streaked with amber clouds, mountains glowing like embers in the setting sun. It struck me that New Zealand isn't a place you visit. It's a place that visits you. It lodges somewhere inside, whispering long after you leave. Because here, you don't just witness beauty, you participate in it. You don't just read history, you walk its living chapters. And you don't just meet people, you share a spirit that refuses to let wonder die. This is passports to the past. Travel smarter. We know where the bathrooms are.